in St. Louis, Missouri. A police officer was driving down the street and crashed into a bar. Crashed into that bar, and you will not believe what happened next. Keep on watching until the end of the video.
Hand in hand with his husband, Chad Morris leaves the St. Louis City Justice Center Tuesday, 36 hours after a police cruiser slammed into his bar.
So, based on news reports, the police officer that was inside the car crashed into the bar, but did not simply do so. After he did that, obviously the bar owners would be shocked and not know what is going on. So they were in the upstairs section of the bar, came downstairs to accost the individuals who had caused damage to their property. Now, the bar owners were Chad Morris and somebody by the name of James Pence. They happened upon the car that had just crashed and then spoke to the police officers. At that point, there was an argument that ensued, and ultimately Chad Morris, who was the owner of the bar, ended up getting arrested. Obviously, you might ask, how could a person who owns property that's been damaged be considered the perpetrator in this instance and be arrested? Well, here's where the story gets convoluted. The police officer stated that after he crashed, ultimately when Chad Morris came up to him, he pushed the police officer, and at that point that was assault on the police, and he was arrested. However, testimony of the witnesses at the scene paint a different picture. James Pence, who is the co-owner along with Chad Morris, Pence stated that what actually occurred is that, first of all, the police officer asked him, "Do you own the bar?" And in fact, this was actually in a news article. Specifically, the article stated that Cazelli, who presumably is the lawyer, said that he has a video that shows Pence arriving at the scene, an officer approaching Pence and asking him if he's the owner. Pence saying yes, then the officer asking to see Pence's ID. Then Cazelli said that the video shows Pence responding, "Why should I show my ID? I didn't do anything wrong." He says it loudly because he's not happy, Cazelli said of Pence's response in the video. And the officer says, "You don't get to yell at me. You're under arrest for disturbing the peace." And then when bystanders repeatedly asked the officer why he was arrested, he said, "Nobody gets to yell at me," which is not standard for an arrest. Obviously, you can see that just from that interaction alone, it appears that the police may even have been trying to hide something. They may have been trying to hide something, because why would you crash into somebody's establishment and then start to question them and then arrest them on somewhat tenuous charges? And the issue is that the charges against Pence were not actually filed. So he was detained, but he was not arrested. And then you go into the charges against Chad Morris as well. First of all, he was charged with assault and resisting arrest. But even though they were charged as felonies, they were later dropped down to misdemeanors now. Assault obviously is unconsensual touching with force of another person, and resisting arrest is exactly what it sounds like. If you refuse to accompany a police officer when you're in their custody. But the real question is, was the police officer drunk at the time? Did they have any substances which caused them to lose control of the car and to hit the building? That is the real question. In addition to that, when other officers arrived on the scene, did they do any drug or alcohol testing of those police officers that had crashed? Why is the victim of a crime, who are the bar owners, why are they the ones that now have to go down to the station and have to face charges too? So this goes back to exactly what should be done in instances like these. The best thing to do to protect yourself, especially when you're dealing with law enforcement, is number one, record every instance of interaction, everything that's said. Luckily for Chad Morris and James Pence, this was actually on video. They had a video camera inside their bar. There was a video camera which showed exactly what occurred, and they'll be able to present that to court. In addition to the video camera, it's vitally important as well if you can record audio too. That's why a cell phone is a good thing to use, because you can do both. You can record the video and the audio too. Obviously, it would have been a lot better if they had gotten an attorney to try and subpoena any evidence, or essentially force the police officer to get an injunction to actually get them to take a blood test to see if they had been under the influence of alcohol or not. However, it's a bit too late now because it'll be out of their system. But these are things which the attorney could have done, especially if the police officer was prosecuted. However, it is stated apparently by the mayor of the town that an investigation is going on into exactly what occurred. I suspect alcohol was involved, but it just goes to show you have to be very careful when you deal with law enforcement, because you never really know what is going on. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.